first of all, so I did run against Adam Kinzinger, but I also ran against a Democrat once I won the nomination. Restricting happened. And I think primarily the biggest issue that we see is the culture wars are now, anytime the far left progressive movement tries to isolate an idea, whether it's the transgender movement or the minority voices that ultimately have the majority of sway when it comes to policies, right? Why are transgender policies being pushed at a federal level when it only impacts 0.06% of the American population? Things like that, right? They are winning, the far left progressives are winning the culture wars. And ultimately, that does have to do with the breakdown of the Judeo-Christian values that we were founded upon. But also, what they're really after is our economic system. They use these culture wars, I think, to ultimately get after our free enterprise system. And that's why I think it is so essential for people who are in either elected office or community leaders, people who want to bring back what made our country great, our values that not only defined us, but they also united us. You know, I think about this a lot when Democrat teachers back, 10, 20 years ago. Sure, they were Democrats. Sure, they were part of a teachers union. But a lot of those teachers had fathers who fought in World War II. And they would absolutely never disrespect the American flag in their classrooms the way that millennial women teachers, millennial women in general, or millennial far left progressive millennials in general have disrespected our culture and have circumvented a lot of that and gotten into the young minds. So I think we need to go back to, those values united us. They defined us and they united us. There's something we can all agree upon. Doesn't matter where you're from, what political party you associate with, where your parents came from, whatever. We need to go back to those cultural values as a whole, which is standing for our flag.
Okay, I agree.
As one example.
Nick says that a woman like you should have just, after high school, focused on being a mother. Fair?
Fair.
Okay. You're 30.
Yeah.
You're accomplished. You went to college. You're gorgeous.
Thank
You're
you.
smart. You're intelligent. You're going to make a great wife someday. Nick believes it should have been sooner rather than later, but you're on your own time frame. Why is Nick wrong that you're actually a happy, healthy, beautiful person and you're living your life that you want to live?
Yeah, well, first talk about just briefly, my grandmother never made it past third grade. She came from Guatemala. And for her, the fact that she could never learn and even read or write to a substantial amount was really personal to her, because with education, that provided freedom. Education is something that can never be taken away from you.
This is your mother or your grandmother?
My grandmother.
Okay.
And
what about your mother?
For her, her, it was so important that her children were educated, because she knew that education equaled freedom. It meant that something could never take that away from you, man or woman. And so when my mom and my grandmother came from Guatemala to the United States, my mother worked 3 jobs to come here, learned English at night, to be educated, to be a woman of worth. And that really mattered. She ended up being a teacher and really being able to be somebody. And, I find that really offensive that you don't believe that women should have the education or the freedom, because there are a lot of women who would do anything to be able to read a book. And you laugh, but it's sad.
Women can't read? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying that there are some women in some countries that can't read. And when
Nobody's
you undermine...
saying they shouldn't have literacy. But it's a question of, should they have secondary education? Should they pursue a degree? And when you say education is freedom, I went to school for 2 semesters before I dropped out. I went to school with a girl who borrowed her entire tuition for 4 years, getting an IR degree, $200,000 in debt for an IR degree, for a liberal arts degree. Is that freedom? buying a lot of freedom.
the freedom
But Nick,
of
isn't
choice.
that anecdotal? Because I know a ton of dudes in student loan debt as well. They're doing nothing with their life.
It's an example.
Yeah.
It's an example.
No, I know, but
the point
one
is,
good example.
but you agree,
But
though.
there's millions of.
No, he's not wrong, folks. A lot of higher education, it is essentially a bit of a scam. You know, you're getting yourself into thousands, tens of thousands of pounds worth of debt for something that is essentially useless. I think most of us can agree on that.
Guys and girls
Yeah,
with
but
useless
don't
degrees.
they have the freedom to make the mistake? I mean, I think that is part of the American
Totally.
way. They have
No,
the
I
freedom
don't-
to make the mistake.
Yeah, and nobody's saying nobody has the freedom to go to college or something like that. But the point is, on the statement specifically that education equals freedom, I don't necessarily buy that getting a college degree is the ticket that it used to be. So
No, that's-
everyone
that's
needs to go to
definitely true.
college to get freedom.
I
I
agree
don't know
with
if that's
that,
true.
but then why are you saying that women in particular shouldn't go to college
why.
and they should be? Look,
Here's
no.
why.
Let me explain. I think also
Okay.
too that women can have it all, and I think this
No.
construct of you have to choose this career, you have to choose to be going to college over having a family. I'd love to have a family one day. I'd love to be married someday, and I think you can have it all. And I don't think that you have to choose between this lifestyle of either or.
Nick,
think
why do you
that-
say that women can't have it all? And then I'm gonna come to you, Amy, and then I'm gonna come.
Living in a fantasy world there, folks.
Do, Nima, I promise.
You cannot
Can't have it all because the
You
clock's
need to
ticking.
grow up.
And you know you're 30, and I don't mean it to get personal, but of course women, there's an age after which they can't have kids. There's an age after which it's much more difficult for them to have kids. That's just biology.
I've been out
And
of
so,
college
hang
for
on,
10
hang on. I
years.
let you finish. I know you want to rip my face off, but I let you finish. And so the point is that when women go to college full-time or they have a full-time job, they can't be a mother because a mother is a full-time job. So that means that if they are having kids, guess who's not around for 8 hours during the day? Where do they put the baby for 8 hours during the day? Do they just stuff them in a box somewhere? Got to send them to daycare. Somebody has to take care of the kids. Just because you're the one that's not doing it doesn't mean it's not a full-time job. So, no, you cannot have it all without making sacrifices. And the problem is, working women will have a kid. They'll prioritize their career. This is what happens in many cases. And who is the one who is forced to pay the price? Who for this sacrifice in time? It's the kid. It's the kid that doesn't have the mother for those 8 hours a day when their mom's at work. It's the kid who mom can't go to the game. Mom can't pick you up when you're sick from school. Mom can't do X, Y, and Z. So actually, we have a
This is where the West is falling behind a little bit, where other cultures, Middle East, other cultures seem to be surpassing us in the way that they are maintaining the nuclear family. And the West, we seem to have forgotten the significance of the nuclear family in the traditional structure.
short life.
Will it
We
make it
have to
come
make
back?
decisions in time. Nobody
Time
can
will
have
tell.
everything of everything. Nobody can have it all. We have to make decisions, which means sacrifice. And the problem that is going on, if women want to work their whole life and never have kids, I don't think that's good for them. I don't think that's fulfilling. But worse still is you have women that are promiscuous, which is a mortal sin. They'll wind up having kids, often become a single mom. And even if they're not, the kids wind up in daycare. And the point is it's just a very selfish lifestyle. People should put their family first.
Amy, let
That's
me
the
ask
most
you.
important
Let me
job.
ask Amy because Amy's been quiet, and Nima, I'll come to you, and then everyone. Believe me, everyone's gonna get tons of times to talk. I guarantee you. You're saying that in regards to women working, did you go to college, Amy?
Yeah, I have my associates in justice and legal. I dropped
Okay.
out. But I agree with you to some degree, but I don't think anyone can really have it all. It's only the top 1%, someone exceptional in any field to really have it all. So yes, you can, but will everybody? No, it's unlikely. So I understand both sides of the arguments. I think if a woman really wants to do it and she can make that happen, but you're absolutely correct. That is not going to come without sacrifice. And I don't think you can put 100% into both things. You can be all in on something, but like you can be all in on multiple things, but that means that one thing at a time, you have to be giving 100% of your focus to that thing. So that is going to be time away from your children. That is going to have some type of an impact on them. So I think that this is something to certainly keep in mind when we are trying to talk about the traditional values that we want to reinstill in society. But that doesn't necessarily mean we have to legislate it or anything like that, which you said. You never even said that in
Well,
the first place.
Are you like what are you doing to sort of reinforce? You're 28, smart, attractive. Same. You guys are the same people. smart, attractive, late 20s, early 30s, no man, no kids, tons of people in your DMs. Here's Nick, who's basically like,
Yeah.
I mean, if you could sum up in one sentence your advice for them, what would it be?
Don't go to school. Have kids. Stop having sex. Have kids with your husband.
Okay.
I mean,
and
for
you
me, my
mentioned that
mindset-
being promiscuous is a mortal sin.
Yeah, it's
Is that sex before marriage?
Yeah.
So what happens then?
You go to hell.
So they're going to hell.
If they don't repent, yeah.
So all they have to do is do what?
They have to go to
Repent.
confession.
Confession.
Yeah,
Okay.
and say,
Confession.
I'm sorry.
So
Everybody's-
do you firmly believe that, let's say these two girls who have had sex out of wedlock will go to hell?
Well, I mean, the Catholic position is we don't know who goes to heaven, but we do believe that adultery is a mortal sin. Premarital sex is a mortal sin, and mortal sins mean they're grave and with full consent,
Gotcha.
breaking the 10 Commandments.
So what's your advice to young Amy over here?
My advice would be find a husband who's going to take care of you and love you and cherish you and have kids. And that's the most
And you know
beautiful
what?
thing.
That's actually what I want. I got into a debate with Brendan Carter about this recently because I've been a person, like I've traveled, like I've moved across the world, made a lot of money, I've done the things, and one thing I can strongly attest to is it never made me truly happy or fulfilled. You get the dopamine rush, but then with goals, it's always on to the next thing. Dopamine is highly, highly addictive. And so people have this end in mind where they're like, when I get here, I'll be happy, but then there's always something else that comes up. For women, in this debate, we actually brought up that the chemical of oxytocin is a chemical that can only be induced.
And if we do have any ladies watching, be very careful of choosing that lifestyle, because the problem is once you've gone down that route, men will not take you seriously. Not the men that you want anyway.
It necessitates the presence of another person. You need to be giving to another person. You need to be pouring into them, providing value to them. And I think the easiest way to do that for a woman is through a family. So my mindset has completely changed. Completely
Are you
changed
ready
on
to
this
quit
recently.
your job?
Yeah, well, my goal is to get married and have kids. I mean, I just got out of a relationship, so I know I need to heal from that. I don't want to bring any of that into my next relationship. But the next guy I'm with, I want that to be the person I'm with for the rest of my life. I want to have kids. I want a family. I want those traditional values.
Okay.
Nearly more than like anything, honestly.
Well, the only one person on the panel that is married with kids here is our friend Nima. So as you're hearing this conversation go down, married, how long have you been married?
Less than a year, but with the same woman for about 4 or 5 years now.
4 or 5 years, and you have a daughter.
Yeah.
So congratulations. As you're hearing this discussion, the women working, beautiful, attractive, Nick, staunch in his opinions, celibate, Michael, ladies' man.
Man of
What's
God.
your take?
Man, maybe I am
Man of
something.
God.
You don't know.
Nat, virgin. Maybe there's something here, Nick. I don't know. I don't know if you like the dark meat, but we can have that convo. What's your advice for men, women, families? What do you see out there?
Yeah, you know,
Men, women, families. What do you see out there?
yeah, you know,
Adam just referred to his own co-host as dark meat.
as
Come
crazy
on,
as it is, I agree with some of the things that Nick said. And my wife is a college graduate, and she's a teacher by training, and she stays home. You know, we underestimate how much it takes to really give a loving dedication to raising a child. I mean, my wife really wakes up sometimes 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock. How could she work? I knew before I got married, and I was working with fashion models in New York for about 10 years, and I got a nice little, you know, small city girl, like village girl from Germany, evangelical Christian. And, you know, she's very dedicated to raising our child. And her parents are nearby, her grandmother's nearby, her sister's nearby, her cousins are nearby. And she gets to see this whole extended family. We got cows and horses and stuff, very different in New York. And I don't know, I think having my wife stay at home, I think she's happy. And she's a liberal. I mean, she's not like me. I'm pretty independent, but she's you know, in Germany, their center is pretty left. And one more thing, we were talking about in America. I agree with Nick when he said that we're not creating things. My father-in-law, CEO in the auto sector, they have so many factories in Germany where they're creating widgets, like you mentioned, widgets, and they're hyper specialized. And in Germany, I think you see way more craftsmen